Alright, to check your battery level on your Prius, your second gen Prius, power button twice. Hold down the info button. Flick your lights on and off 3 times. You're in system check mode. Menu. Display check. Vehicle signal check. And right here you can see your battery level. And you see that mine is currently showing 11 volts. Should always be 12 volts plus, maybe even closer to 13, so yeah, that's an issue. Oh, you may also notice this and this. I guess we should talk about that. Alright, so I'm not sure exactly how long, over a month, maybe 5 weeks, 6 weeks, I'm not quite sure. I shot a video regarding my red triangle of death that I got in my Prius because my hybrid battery pack had failed. And the way that I addressed that was I contacted a company called batteryforprius.com, and they sent someone over from the East Coast to replace the battery pack with a refurbished pack that had a 12-month, 12,000 mile warranty on it. I think it's 1220. No, 12-month, 20,000 mile warranty on it, I believe. So after that initial install, I did a follow-up, and it was because I was getting the red triangle on the days after the install, although the car was still running fine. So I was clearing it with my code reader, The installer had recommended that I remove the service plug, the orange service plug in the back, and reinstall it because that could possibly be loose, and I did that. And the errors kept coming randomly, although the car was still more or less driving okay. I was still averaging in the high 40s MPG wise, but I was still dealing with the red triangle of death. So since I had a warranty on it, I called them up and said, hey, you know, I'm still getting this error, it needs to be replaced. So they did, they sent somebody out. They sent actually the same installer out, and he arrived in a Prius. I don't know if it's a company Prius or whatever. And what he actually wound up doing was taking the hybrid battery pack out of the Prius that he drove across Alligator Alley on and putting it into this Prius. And then taking the battery pack that was in this Prius and putting it in his car. And that was their second battery pack. And I have to tell you, and he told me I think that pack had 5 cells replaced or something like that. And that pack actually was doing great. I was getting even better mileage. Power was even better. I was averaging, I think, after this most recent failure, 53 miles per gallon, which is really good. And the pack was great. I had no red triangle of death lights popping on during the 2.5 weeks, 3 weeks. But then all of a sudden on Tuesday, the red triangle of death came back on. I'm like, oh great. So I checked the error with my code reader, and it said hybrid battery pack problem. I cleared it, thinking, okay, well, let's just clear it and see what happens. The next day on Wednesday, it came on again, and the reason I knew I had a bigger problem was the hybrid cooling fan in the back of the car started going full blast. And usually when that happens, based on my prior experience, that means that your pack is really, really failing. So in addition to the hybrid battery pack failure code, I also got a P3012 and a P3013, which actually indicates specific problems with banks in the battery. I think it's like bank 3 and bank 4, something like that. Basically the pack is again screwed. And what happens is when the battery gets to that point, it's almost undrivable. It's weird, like the motor will rev real high, but the car won't go that fast. Like it's hard to get it to go over 45 miles an hour. Usually you have to like stop and turn the car off and on again to kind of get moving again. So it's no good. Called them up again and said, hey, you know, I don't know what to tell you, but this pack has failed as well. So I have someone coming over tomorrow again from Battery for Prius, and they're going to put another pack in. There's some people in the comments that said on my original video, hey, you know, you're going to have problems. You know, you can't mix and match new cells with 10-year-old cells and expect to have a long-term fix. And you know, feel free to say I told you so. But at least at this point, the fact that Battery for Prius is at least backing up their warranty and replacing the pack. That's all I can ask from them at this point. I'm just hoping that maybe they get tired enough of coming out that they will put in a pack that's in better shape. You know, maybe a completely rebuilt pack. I don't know. So yeah, they're supposed to be coming over tomorrow to look at it. So that's my wrap up. So I can't say that putting in a refurbished pack is necessarily a great idea. Luckily, in my situation, we have 3 cars in the household for 2 drivers, so it's not the end of the world. I've just been letting this sit since Wednesday, and yeah. So all right, so let's get to the topic of the video, the main topic. All right, right here you see a replacement battery, a 12-volt battery for my Prius. In addition to the problems that I've had with the hybrid battery pack, I've noticed using that procedure that I showed at the beginning of the video that my 12-volt battery was reading low as well. It should not ever really be below 12 volts, and as you saw right there, it's sitting at 11 volts. And I've heard multiple locations that when the 12-volt battery in a Prius gets low, all kinds of weird shit starts to happen. So in addition to getting the hybrid pack replaced again tomorrow, I'm replacing the 12-volt battery now. Got this battery pack at AutoZone. I'll put a link to the information for the pack down below. And it is a very specific one that you need to get. It's you have to make sure you get one that's designed. If your Prius has the smart doors, the smart locks, where you just walk up to it and pull the handle and it opens, you need to get a specific type of battery. And the replacement procedure is slightly different when you have a smart door system versus a conventional door system. So we'll be showing you the smart door method. This battery cost, I think, 270 some bucks. There's an $18 core charge, so I can take the old battery back in once I pull it out and get 18 bucks back, but it's they're not cheap. All right, with the Prius, it's a little unconventional. The 12-volt battery is located in the trunk of the car as opposed to in the engine compartment. So to get access to it, you have to take a few things out here, nothing hard. Obviously, take out your trunk mat. You have your cargo cover here, where you just throw it out. This just lifts out. It's got a couple knobs here you got to turn. And then down below here you have this big tray, which again just lifts out. So at this point you just have a big hole here. This cover needs to come out. Everything here just is kind of a press fit, most of it. That cover comes out. And then you're left with this is your control for your door locks, and then right over here is the actual battery. Now to take everything apart, you need a 10mm wrench and or socket and a 12mm. So let me go get those. If your battery, see, I've never replaced this battery. We've had the Prius for, I don't know, over 3 years, I believe. I've never replaced a 12-volt battery, so I'm not surprised that it's time to replace it. So I have no idea how old it is. But sometimes when, from the factory, it has this cover here for the terminals. Sometimes if someone's replaced a battery before, they won't put that cover back on, but I have it, so I'm going to remove it. Just kind of snaps on here. All right. So first thing I want to do is I'm going to remove the negative battery terminal, just to be safe. And I think, yeah, that's a 10mm. Everything, pretty much everything you're going to be dealing with is a 10mm, except the 2 bolts that hold down the base of the smart lock unit. I saw a video where some guy, instead of removing the terminal here on the actual battery, he removed the point where it grounds to the body right there. But I'm just gonna loosen it on the terminal side here. So that should just wiggle off. Okay, negative terminal is off. Positive terminal, same thing, 10mm. I just prefer to remove these terminal post connections so there's no power to the car at all when I start removing some of these other connections. Now the positive terminal has this additional hardware attached to it. Alright, so now that I have it disconnected, I'm going to remove some of these terminals here, these plugs. Okay, there we go. Alright, so just keep all that together, set it aside. Now I'm going to, you can take the battery out without removing this, but it seems like the recommendation I saw is just to remove the smart lock controller, just to make it easier to put everything back together. So I'm going to do it that way. These two bolts here in the bottom are 12 millimeter. Make sure to keep your bolts grouped together so you remember what goes where. And even though I have this in the garage, I'm sweating. So anyways, my hope is that, you know, the combination of me replacing the 12-volt battery and another hybrid battery pack, that my days of Prius battery problems will be over. I'm not sure how likely that is or how realistic of a thought that is, but that is my hope. All right. The bolt up top for that is a 10. So this whole thing should just lift out now, and it does. Okay. So now the exhaust fan tube needs to come out for the hybrid battery pack. So that's another 10. There's two 10 millimeters. One's easy to get to on the ground here. I'm grouping these together. The other one is right in there. So you have to kind of use an extension would be good. Extension is actually required. Alright, so I got that one out. And you'll notice that that one is like a sheet metal sort of screw. It's the only one, so just keep that in mind when you go to reassemble things. So now this exhaust tube should just lift out. There you go. Alright, so now we just got the battery sitting here. So again, we're dealing with 10 millimeter bolts for the hold downs. Oh, let me point this out. This is the venting tube for the battery. Just pull that straight out. Okay, you'll be reattaching that with your new battery. So with this hold down clamp, you have a 10 millimeter bolt on one side and 10 millimeter nut on the other. Okay. Okay, there goes my clamp. At that point, I should be able to lift the old battery out. And I can. Alright. Alright, I'm not sure that's a genuine Toyota battery or not. I don't know. I don't see Toyota markings on it. Right down there, you'll see the tray. So let me go get the new battery. Alright, so when putting this in, you want to make sure that you orient it the way the old one was, which is the positive terminal towards the front. So let's lower that baby in there. Alright. So, oh, that does actually go down. Okay, nice. I heard some people say that they had to like cut this strap, but actually it just kind of slides down there and will tuck itself out of the way. That's not bad. They said that sometimes like this strap will make this cover piece not sit correctly, but that feels okay to me. Alright, so the venting hole is right here. So let's get that vent back in quickly. Just push that straight in. Oh, there's actually a slot in there. Okay, I didn't notice that at first. There's a slot that you align the connector with, and then it seats itself all the way in. So now I want to get my hold down back in. Okay, see, I see what happens. Like if you try to put this hold down on top of the handle, it won't seat all the way. So you have to kind of go underneath. Alright, well that's fine. We'll work that out. I'm just going to start the nut. I'm just getting the bolt and nut started for now, just by hand. And let me put the hybrid exhaust tube back in. Let's see, how did it go? All right. Don't be afraid to bend that stuff around, it's pretty flexible. This is a little tricky here. You gotta line that up, get the screws started. Kind of working blind. All right, got it started. At this point, I'm tightening up the hybrid exhaust tube bolts. At this point, I believe I'm okay to do the hold down clamp as well. All right, I think I'd like to put the positive terminal back on at this point. I'm going to obviously take these protective covers off. Alright, so obviously you want to make sure that this is seated well. I did see someone caution against tapping this. You don't want to smack the top of it to get it down, but that's on there well. Yeah, that's all the way down. So as long as you have this backed out enough, it should be loose enough that you can just push it all the way down. Like I said, I saw some people cautioning against tapping the top of it because you can actually damage some of the substrate material in the battery down below. So should be able to just press that on. So I'm going to use the 10mm socket to tighten that up. Again, tight, but not, you don't need to lean on it for sure. All right, there we go. All right, so I should be able to put the door lock controller back in at this point. Okay. Ooh. When I first saw this, it's I don't know. I mean, it's just a battery, but it seemed like it was a little bit of a hassle. But it's, I mean, doing this firsthand, it's not a big deal. Take your time and make sure you get the right battery. Don't forget the 10mm that goes in the top. That's the last 12mm work you have to do. Put this connector back in, and now we're going to reconnect the negative battery terminal. Find the best way to route that without putting too much strain on the cable. Okay, that's pretty good. Just like that. Nice and tight. And let's see if we can manage to snap this thing back on. It's not required. It just protects all of it. There we go. Just, you know, kind of protects all your connections. All right, there we go. It's back on. So before we put everything back together, everything's hooked up. Let's see what the battery level reads. All right, once again, power twice. Hold info key. Lights 3 times. 1, 2, 3. Menu. Display check. Vehicle signal check. Battery 11.9 volts. Alright, that's good. And plus, who knows how charged it is, because I think it has a manufacture date of February, so it's sitting at 12 volts basically right now. So after the car's been running a little bit, it should be sitting at 12 plus. Let's just make sure the car turns on, huh? Alright, there we go. Huh. Yeah, look at that. Now it thinks the hybrid battery is 3/4 full. And that also cleared my red triangle because I had the battery disconnected. So I actually want to make sure that light comes back on for the installer so he can read the codes himself. So I guess I'll drive it. Yeah, look how quick that's dropping. Now we're down to 2 bars just like that. So yeah, still have a problem with the hybrid battery, but at least a 12 volt battery should. All right, so let's quickly just assemble the rest of the stuff here. Drop in your tray. And this literally just drops in. And yeah, unless you put it in backwards like a dumbass. There we go. And let's see how well we can get this thing seated here. Well, that's not bad. Yeah, that's fine. Alright, there you go. Good as new. And we'll take this back to AutoZone and hopefully get 18 bucks for it. Alright. So there you go. There's the 12 volt battery replacement procedure on a 2nd gen Prius with the smart key system. If you do not have a smart key system, it's actually a little simpler. You don't have that auxiliary control box. It's even easier. But that certainly was not that difficult. You know, I would say for someone with reasonable mechanical skills, and if you're not filming a YouTube video, you can probably do the whole job in 15 minutes, maybe 20, I don't know. But it's not hard. Just pay attention to what stuff you're taking out, what screws go where, and it's not bad at all. So of course this is only a little part of my saga. I need to see if I can get that hybrid battery problem taken care of. Like I mentioned, the tech will be here tomorrow to put in my 3rd refurbished battery pack, and we'll see how that works out. I'll be sure to let you know. It's frustrating, you know, but again, we're lucky that we have 3 vehicles, and I'm just trying to kind of, you know, get through like maybe another year with this Prius, and then I still have my hopes on getting something like a Chevy Bolt. I think that would be a great commuter car for me. So that's the plan. We'll see how the plan works out. So if you found this video interesting, please give it a big thumbs up. If this is your first time visiting the channel, yes, I am probably backlit right now, I'm sorry. If this is your first time visiting the channel, please consider subscribing for vehicle repair videos, for electric unicycle content, for one-wheel content, for exercise-related stuff, and anything else. Oh, 3D printing, of course, and anything else weird that I just happened to decide to film. This is the place to do it. So that's it for now. Hope you have a good weekend, and until next time, Duffman out. Gotta drive this thing until the air comes back. I don't want the battery guy to think that I'm crying wolf. I don't think it'll take very long.